I really don't care what happens to her at all. I don't care. Like everybody they tiptoe around with this social media, but what y'all don't get is that it be real consequence for y'all little flexes, y'all quick flexes for $300 that you need. It be consequence.
HYY everyone, welcome to Poplinks, the spotlight on your favorite stars. Stop scrolling for a moment and picture this. A man once celebrated under bright lights, cheered on by thousands in packed arenas, now sits slumped in the shadows of a courthouse parking lot. His tall frame is folded in on itself, his hands pressed against his face, shoulders trembling as quiet sobs escape. Cars roll by. Reporters whisper to one another, trying not to draw attention. But Iman Shumpert doesn't notice. He doesn't care who sees him. He's shattered, and this time, there's no game clock to reset, no crowd to cheer him back to his feet. This isn't about basketball, it's about his family, his children, his life. Just hours before, inside that same courthouse, everything he thought he was protecting slipped right through his fingers. Cameras weren't meant to capture this side of him. Celebrities usually manage to hide those raw, unfiltered moments. But not this time. Someone filmed it, and once the footage leaked, the internet devoured it. Within hours, timelines filled with debates, sympathy, jokes, and blame. But behind the memes and the noise lies a deeper question. What really pushed him to that breaking point? Why did a man who once had it all end up crying alone on the curb? To understand, you have to rewind to the story people once admired. Iman wasn't just an NBA player with a championship ring. He was also half of a couple the world idolized. With Teyana Taylor by his side and two daughters who seemed to have the happiest parents on earth, they became symbols of love, blending sports greatness with music royalty. Every red carpet walk, every Instagram post, every video appearance painted them as untouchable. But behind the polished smiles, cracks were forming. And those cracks grew until they reached the courtroom. The breakup of Iman and Teyana wasn't a quiet separation, it was a war. Custody of their daughters became the centerpiece, but the fight wasn't only about parenting. It was also about money, pride, and image. Fans and gossip blogs couldn't get enough. Some swore Teyana was protecting herself from Iman's temper. Others claimed Iman was being punished simply for wanting to stay close to his children. The truth depended on who you asked, but one fact remained clear: the weight of it all was crushing him. Inside the courtroom, the tension was unbearable. Teyana sat poised, her lawyers sharp and methodical, each word carefully chosen to reinforce her side. Across the aisle, Iman's frustration boiled over. His team painted him as a devoted, hands-on father. But whispers about instability, stories of past outbursts, and the natural tendency of courts to lean toward mothers in custody cases all worked against him. Then came the blow that ended it all. The judge granted Teyana majority custody, leaving Iman with limited visitation and heavy financial obligations. It was a ruling that felt less like justice and more like punishment. The air in the courtroom shifted. Reporters dashed out to file their stories. Phones buzzed with breaking news updates. Whispers filled the seats. But the loudest silence was the one that fell over Iman himself. His jaw clenched. His fists balled. His eyes burned. He didn't even wait for the formalities. He stood, stormed out, and within minutes, he was outside where the real unraveling began. That parking lot became the stage for his most vulnerable performance, unplanned, unfiltered, and heartbreaking. Witnesses described him pacing in circles, tugging at his hoodie, shaking his head as though replaying the ruling again and again in disbelief. At one point, he collapsed onto the curb, staring at the concrete, ignoring the constant buzz of his phone. Family, friends, maybe even his daughters were reaching out, but he couldn't bring himself to answer. Then came the breaking point. He buried his face in his hands and cried. Of course, someone recorded it. Privacy no longer exists for public figures, not even at their lowest moments. The clip spread within minutes, first on Twitter, then Instagram, then everywhere. Millions of people suddenly had front row seats to his grief. Reactions were mixed. Some praised him for showing vulnerability, calling it proof that fathers feel pain too. Others mocked him, turning screenshots into jokes and captions. And while the internet argued, Iman sat in silence, watching his life change in real time. But not everyone piled on. A surprising voice rose in his defense: world champion boxer Claressa Shields, a close friend of Iman's. Fighting back tears in a live video, she condemned the mockery. "This man loves his kids," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "And you're out here acting like this is entertainment. It's not funny. It's not a joke. This is a father hurting because the system failed him." Her words cut through the noise because she had seen the side of Iman the public often overlooked. She knew the man who doted on his daughters, the father who wanted nothing more than to be present in their lives. To her, this wasn't about celebrity drama, it was about a father stripped of the chance to be the dad he wanted to be. And that's what makes the parking lot scene so haunting. It wasn't the fall of a basketball star. It wasn't even just the collapse of a marriage. It was the human cost of a custody battle that turned love into ammunition. For Iman, this wasn't about losing a game. It was about losing time with the people who mattered most. The world may forget the details as the next scandal takes over timelines. But that image, of a father in tears on the curb of a courthouse, will linger. Because beyond the gossip, beyond the headlines, it's a reminder of something raw. Even those we see as untouchable can break. And when they do, it isn't for show. It's because, at the end of the day, they are human too. She wasn't afraid to speak up about what so many people were trying to overlook. For her, this was never just about celebrity drama or gossip, it was about fairness. Her emotional reaction opened the door for a much bigger conversation. Suddenly, people began asking hard questions. Was the court truly fair to Iman Shumpert? Or was this another example of how fathers are too often pushed aside, labeled unstable, while mothers are automatically seen as the safer choice? As the story spread, different voices in the entertainment world started weighing in. A few cautiously supported Iman, while others stayed completely quiet. That silence only fueled more speculation about loyalties and hidden alliances within the industry. At the same time, blogs and tabloids spun the story out of control. Headlines turned into clickbait: Iman Shumpert melts down after losing custody, or Teyana Taylor wins big in court. In the rush for attention, the real pain behind the story was ignored. Then came the parking lot video. That emotional breakdown, caught on camera, became the lasting image tied to this chapter of Iman's life. As embarrassing as it must have been, it also reminded people of something important. Behind the fame, the money, the basketball highlights, and the red carpets, Iman is simply a man. A father. A human being who can break down just like anyone else. Oddly enough, that vulnerable moment may have earned him more understanding than any carefully written statement ever could. It revealed the depth of his struggle in a way words couldn't. People saw not just a basketball player, but a dad who was devastated at the thought of losing time with his children. Now the question is, what happens next? Will Iman appeal the ruling and fight harder to prove himself as a father? Or will the pressure of the spotlight and the weight of defeat push him into silence? For someone like him, who has always been tied to strength and resilience, being seen at his lowest is a challenge in itself. But maybe those tears weren't the end of his story. Maybe they were the beginning of a new chapter. Iman has faced setbacks before, and each time he's found a way to rise again. He knows what it feels like to have the world watch him fail, but he also knows the power of a comeback. The only question now is this: when the world sees him again, will they see a broken man, or a father who stood back up and refused to let others define his worth? Thanks for watching. Stay tuned with Pop Links by hitting like, subscribe, and the bell icon for the latest celebrity updates.